I am 85 years old. If you look at the way I live my life, society would call me a failure. I do not have a packed calendar. I do not volunteer at the local hospital. I am not out taking cruises with a new girlfriend. I am sitting in an old armchair, and I am the happiest man alive. Today, I want to tell you the truth about what it actually means to win at life. My name is Richard. I live in a single-story house at the end of a quiet street. The paint on the trim is peeling just a little bit, and I am in no rush to fix it. Every morning I wake up at 5. I walk into my kitchen. I measure out exactly 3 scoops of dark roast coffee. I pour the water. I wait. I sit by the window in my living room and I watch. The light slowly hit the neighbor roof. The house is completely silent. I can hear the hum of the refrigerator. I can hear my own breath. I do not turn on the television. I do not look at the news. I just sit. To the outside world, this looks like a man who has given up. To me, it is an absolute victory. I spent 40 years working as an accountant. I lived in the numbers. I lived for the deadlines, the tax seasons, the client dinners, the relentless pursuit of more. I raised 2 children with my late wife, Martha. We did everything right. We played the game. When Martha passed away 10 years ago, the game ended. But the world did not want me to leave the field. People are terrified of a quiet old man. My son David would call me every Sunday. He would sound anxious. He told me I had to get out of the house. He said I was stagnating. He said I needed a hobby and that I needed to join the senior center. My neighbor was a well-meaning woman named Carol. She started bringing over casseroles and telling me about a lovely widow in her book club. They all looked at my piece and called it depression. They convinced me that aging meant I had to prove I was still useful. They made me feel like I was committing a crime by simply wanting to be left alone. So, when I was 79, I gave in. I let them fix me. I agreed to meet the widow from the book club. Her name was Evelyn. I also signed up for a committee at the local historical society because David said it would keep my mind sharp. I bought new slacks in. I started filling my calendar. At first, the distraction felt like progress. Evelyn was a nice woman. She smelled like expensive soap, and she liked to go out for breakfast. We started spending our days together. I was busy again. The calendar was full of ink. I was doing exactly what society tells an old man to do. I was staying active. Then the exhaustion crept in. It did not happen overnight. It happened in 1,000 tiny, exhausting moments. Evelyn was a woman who could not tolerate silence. If we were in the car, the radio had to be on. If we were sitting in my living room, she had to be talking about her daughter kitchen renovation or her frustrations with the homeowner association. She started leaving her things at my house. A bright pink sweater draped over my quiet brown sofa. A collection of herbal teas crowding my simple black coffee. She wanted to rearrange my furniture to create better energy. The Historical Society was even worse. It was just a group of retired people fighting over insignificant details to feel important. We spent 3 hours, one Tuesday, arguing about the font size on a bronze plaque. I would come home at 4 in the afternoon and my chest would feel tight. My jaw would ache. My sanctuary was gone. My home felt like a waiting room for someone else's life. I was spending my precious, dwindling energy pretending to be interested in things I did not care about just to avoid being called lonely. I found myself checking my watch in my own house. I found myself dreading the sound of the telephone. Evelyn would call 3 times a day just to chat. I realized I had traded my absolute freedom for the illusion of companionship. I had invited chaos into the only place I truly felt safe. The breaking point came on a Thursday morning. It was raining, a heavy, beautiful, cold rain. Evelyn was staying over. It was 6 in the morning. That was usually my sacred time. I walked into the kitchen to make my coffee. Evelyn was already there. She had turned on the bright overhead lights. She had the morning news blaring on the television. She was aggressively scrubbing a pan in the sink and complaining about the weather ruining our plans to go to the garden center. I stood in the doorway of my own kitchen. I looked at the harsh lights. I listened to the angry voices on the television. I looked at this woman who wanted to fill every empty space with noise. I realized in that exact second that I was not living. I was just managing someone else's anxiety. I realized that the worst kind of loneliness is not being alone. The worst kind of loneliness is being surrounded by people who demand that you perform for them. I felt a deep, profound exhaustion in my bones. I realized I was throwing away the last chapters of my life to make other people comfortable. I walked over to the television and I turned it off. Silence fell over the room like a heavy blanket. Evelyn turned around and looked at me. I looked at her and I spoke very softly. I told her that she needed to pack her things and go home. I told her that I did not want to go to the garden center today or tomorrow or ever. She was angry. She called me bitter old man. She told me I was going to die alone and nobody would care. I did not argue. I just opened the front door and waited for her to leave. When her car pulled out of the driveway, I walked back inside. I turned off the harsh overhead lights. I made my coffee. I sat in my chair. I listened to the rain hitting the window. I took a deep breath, and I felt my soul return to my body. I quit the Historical Society the next day. I stopped answering the phone when I did not want to talk. I reclaimed my fortress. I took my life back. Listen to me very carefully. If you are 50 or 60 or 70, the world is going to try to sell you a lie. They will tell you that a quiet life is a wasted life. They will make you feel guilty for saying no. They will make you feel broken if you prefer a book to a dinner party. Do not believe them. You have spent decades of your life pleasing other people. You worked the jobs. You raised the kids. You paid the taxes. You attended the forced social events. You have paid your dues. You do not owe the world a performance anymore. If someone calls you selfish for protecting your peace, let them. Their discomfort with your boundaries is not your problem. Stop exhausting yourself trying to prove you are still relevant. Relevance is a trap. You do not need to be important to be happy. You just need to be at peace. You do not need to keep every relationship alive. Let the dead leaves fall from the tree. People think that getting old means you have to cling desperately to whatever is left. They think you have to grab onto anyone who offers a hand just so you do not fall into the dark by yourself. That is how you end up sitting in a bright kitchen listening to the news when you just want to hear the rain. That is how you end up letting someone rearrange your furniture and your soul. I am here to tell you that the dark is not scary when you have your own light. My house is quiet, but it is not empty. It is full of my memories, my thoughts, my choices. I eat what I want. I sleep when I want. I do not compromise. Compromise is for people who still have time to waste. I do not have time to waste. Every day is a gift, and I refuse to spend my gifts making small talk. Peace is expensive. Stop giving it away for free. Let me tell you about the nature of silence. When you first sit in a truly quiet house, it can feel deafening. That is because you are so used to the noise of the world. You are used to the engines and the voices, the demands, the constant low-level panic of modern existence. When all of that stops, your brain panics. It searches for a problem to solve. It tries to pull you back into the rush. But if you sit through that initial discomfort, something miraculous happens. The silence stops being a void and starts becoming a presence. It becomes a companion. I can sit in my living room for 4 hours and watch the dust motes float in the sunlight. I can feel the texture of the fabric on my old chair. I can remember the exact smell of my grandfather's workshop from 70 years ago. These things are impossible when you are rushing. Rushing is how you miss your own life. Society tells us that a successful retirement looks like a pharmaceutical commercial. You are supposed to be walking on a beach in matching linen outfits. You are supposed to be riding bicycles through a vineyard. You are supposed to be constantly moving. They sell you this image because they want to sell you the linen outfits and the bicycles and the vacations. They cannot sell you anything if you just want to sit on your porch. They cannot monetize a man who is completely satisfied with a cup of black coffee and a quiet morning. So they make you feel like you are doing it wrong. They make you feel like your stillness is a disease. I spent the first 80 years of my life believing them. I bought the things. I went on the trips. I smiled in the photographs. And I was exhausted the entire time. Now I look at the younger generations and my heart breaks for them. I see them running on treadmills and they did not build chasing prizes they do not actually want. I see men in their 50s having heart attacks because they are trying to pay for a boat they use twice a year. I see women burning themselves out trying to maintain the perfect home and the perfect family and the perfect career. They are giving away their life force for a round of applause from people who will forget them the moment they stop performing. I want to grab them by the shoulders and tell them to stop. I want to tell them that the only thing waiting for them at the finish line is a quiet room. You can either walk into that room with peace, or you can be dragged into it kicking and screaming. The choice is yours. Do not let anyone tell you that living alone is a tragedy. Living alone is a privilege. It means you have survived the chaos. It means you have earned the right to govern your own territory. My home is a sovereign nation of one. I am the king of my kitchen. I am the master of my thermostat. I do not have to negotiate the temperature with anyone. I do not have to explain why I do want to eat soup for breakfast. I do not have to apologize for my moods. When my joints ache. I can groan as loud as I want without someone asking me if you're. I am okay. I am okay. I am just old. Being old is not a medical emergency. It is the natural conclusion to a long story. We are so obsessed with fixing old age that we forget how to simply experience it. We treat it like a problem to be solved instead of a season to be lived. I have a friend named Thomas. He is 82. Thomas is terrified of being alone. After his wife died, he immediately got on those dating websites on the computer. He goes on coffee dates every week. He buys new clothes. He dyes his hair. He lies about his age. He tells me about the women he meets. He tells me about the awkward conversations, the forced laughter, the desperate attempt to find a spark. He looks exhausted. He looks like a man who is treading water in the middle of the ocean. He thinks that if he just finds the right person, the fear of death will go away. He thinks a companion is a shield against mortality. It is not. We all cross that final bridge alone. You cannot bring a date with you to the end of the world. Thomas is ruining his final years, running away from his own shadow. I tried to tell him once. I tried to tell him to just sit down and breathe. He got defensive. He said he was a people person. He said he needed connection. I did not argue with him. You cannot teach peace to a man who is addicted to panic. I prefer the company of my memories. They are better conversation partners. Sometimes I sit in the garden and I remember my wife, Martha. I remember the way she used to laugh when the dog chased the sprinkler. I remember the smell of her baking bread. I remember the arguments we had, the struggles we faced, the life we built piece by piece. Those memories are enough for me. I do not need to replace her. I do not need to find a new version of love to validate my existence. The love we had was real, and it happened, and it is safely stored in my mind. Trying to recreate that with a stranger at the age of 85 feels like the betrayal of my own history. It feels like painting over a masterpiece with cheap watercolors. I am content to let the masterpiece be. There is a deep satisfaction in letting go. When you are young, your life is about acquiring things. You acquire an education, a career, a spouse, a house, children, money, status. Your hands are always full. You are always grasping for the next rung on the ladder. But when you get to my age, the math reverses. Life becomes an exercise in subtraction. You start putting things down. You retire from the job. The children grow up and leave. Your friends slowly pass away. Your physical abilities diminish. The world is gently stripping you of your attachments. Most people fight this process. They cling to the things they are losing. They suffer terribly because they cannot accept the subtraction. But if you lean into it, if you willingly open your hands and let things fall away, you discover an incredible lightness. You realize that you are carrying a tremendous amount of unnecessary weight. I have spent the last few years throwing away my possessions. I go through the closets and the drawers. I throw away the old tax returns, the broken tools, the clothes I will never wear again. I gave away the good china. I gave away the antique furniture. My house is very sparse now. It contains only what I need for today. Do not keep things for tomorrow, because tomorrow is an abstract concept. I only have today. The fewer things I own, the less there is to manage. The less there is to manage, the more space I have in my mind. I am clearing the deck. I am preparing for the final departure. And I am doing it with a smile on my face. I want to speak directly to the people watching this who feel trapped. The ones who are giving everything they have to keep an unhappy marriage together because they are afraid of being lonely. The ones who are letting their adult children treat them like an unpaid bank and an unpaid babysitter. The ones who say yes to every social invitation because they are terrified of being forgotten. I want you to look at your life and ask yourself a very hard question. Are you actually living, or are you just surviving on the approval of others? Approval is a terrible currency. It is subject to extreme inflation. You have to work harder and harder just to get the same amount of it. And the moment you stop performing, the approval vanishes. You have permission to stop. You have permission to say no. You have permission to cancel the plans. You have permission to lock the front door and turn off the phone. You have permission to disappoint people. Disappointing people is often the first step toward finding your own soul. The people who truly love you will respect your boundaries. The people who get angry at your boundaries were only loving you for what you could do for them. Let them be angry. Let them walk away. Their absence will create a beautiful, quiet space in your life. Fill that space with your own breath. Fill it with a good book. Fill it with a cup of hot tea. Fill it with nothing at all. Do not wait until you are 85 to figure this out. Do not wait until your body forces you to slow down. Do not wait until a heart attack puts you in a hospital bed to realize that the emails did not matter. The emails do not matter. The opinions of your neighbors do not matter. The prestige of your job title does not matter. The only thing that matters is the quality of your internal state. If you are wealthy and successful, but your mind is a war zone, you have failed. If you live in a tiny apartment with mismatched furniture, but your mind is a calm lake, I have won the lottery. Peace is the only true wealth. I know my time is running short. My hands shake when I hold my coffee mug. My eyes are getting cloudy. The stairs are becoming a difficult mountain to climb. I know that one day soon I will close my eyes and I will not open them again. I am not afraid. I have made my peace with the universe. I have lived my life. I have made my mistakes. And I have found my sanctuary. I will not leave this world in a hospital, surrounded by beeping machines and panicked relatives. I will not leave this world in a state of frantic activity. I will leave this world exactly how I live in it now, quietly, peacefully, on my own terms. If you take anything away from my words today, let it be this. Your life belongs to you. It does not belong to your employer. It does not belong to your family. It does not belong to society. It is yours. You are the author of the story. If you do not like the chapter, you are in turn the page. Stop apologizing for wanting a quiet life. Stop letting loud people dictate your reality. Embrace the silence. Protect your energy. Find your old armchair, whatever that looks like for you, and sit down. Rest. You have earned it. Peace is expensive. Stop giving it away for free.